Yeah. Is that Chris?
Are we all ready at the back? All good? Ready? Right, go on then, Dan. You kick us off.
Thank you, Kev.
Hi, Dan.
Hello, Chris. Welcome back.
Thank you.
First of all, how are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Really good. Energised, obviously had a break, and delighted to be given the opportunity of changing the fortunes of the football club as it is now.
Chris, can you just give us a bit of insight what the last 48 hours have been like, your conversations with the ownership? Especially after how last season ended, what have those conversations been like?
Yeah, pretty quick turnaround, obviously. Conversations with all the owners as well, and Stephen Betty, so I'd like to thank as well on the record for his contribution to all this as well. So, just the normal conversations, I should imagine. First of all, would we be prepared to come back? Of course. I wanted to come back to help the club first and foremost, really, in the position that they're in. I think, I'm in a unique position. As everybody knows, everybody's possibly bored of hearing, really, sort of my sort of journey and my affiliation and affection for this football club. And obviously it's not in a great position at the moment. But that's it's not a permanent position. So, what we would do to change things around, what you would bring to the table to help change around the fortunes of the club in the situation it is at the moment. So, frank and honest discussions. I was delighted to get that opportunity. I thought it speaks volumes about the owners. I know there's been a lot of talk, and the narrative would be about, reconsidering me to come back to help the football club. But I think it just shows you what they're about as human beings as well. Decision that they made, of course, in the summer, I was really disappointed with. Of course, I was going to be, but I respected it. I've done enough interviews and my words from myself to everybody who wanted to hear them. There was that no fallout. Decision that was made. It was their choice to make those decisions. I respected it and accepted it, and wish the club all the best. So that's been an ongoing relationship with the ownership group and the investors since the decision was made. And delighted to be back and working with which one of the things that it did excite me about it was a talented group of players. There's a reason why I was asked back, and there's the reason, or there is a reason why the club is in this situation. I've got to say, which I had frank discussion with the group straight away, was they have to take responsibility for an ownership of the position that they're in. They can't just pile it on certain aspects of what's happened before, and they recognise that, and knowing obviously a lot of the players that have been kept on and were here last season, and knowing a lot of the players that have come into the building, Tanganga, me, Mark McGuinness, Danny Ings, Che Bonnet, all those guys, experienced players. I know a lot about them as well. Chongi as well. So knowing what the club has done from a recruitment point of view, I'm excited to get going and hopefully turn around the fortunes of the football club.
You talk about it being a talented group of players. We saw some lovely videos of you reuniting with some of those players this morning. With the players and with those new players, what has that kind of being reunited felt like, do you think, on both ends?
Well, yeah, I'd like to think that they were quite happy to see me. Time will tell, but when you're a manager of a football club, you don't just pick the team on a Saturday afternoon. You get to know these guys and relationships that are built up, through challenges that we had last season. As I said, I think internally in football, everybody recognised the challenge that we had. Maybe not externally, but internally, right the way through the season, from the start of the season, through the passing of George and through a difficult sort of situation there, and the highs and lows, and obviously ultimately ending in incredible disappointment in terms of what happened at Wembley. So you build up these relationships with guys, not just over a short period, over medium to long term period. I've seen these guys come through, played a major part in the majority, if not all of them, coming through the building over the last sort of 16, 17 months, and knowing the guys that have recently signed. Yeah, there's some boys there that have not had that relationship with me, not had that experience. I'm looking forward to building those as well. But certainly there was a strong rapport between myself, the coaches and the players. We were a tight-knit group. We went through a lot, and we fought for each other daily. We fell out quite often. We loved each other quite a lot, and I'm looking forward to reuniting them and helping them. There are. Let's be honest with you. You've seen the clips. You've seen sort of the results and the performances, especially over the last 2 or 3 games. They're down. They look a bit beat up. They look a bit broken, and their spirits need lifting. They need raising. They need galvanising. I think the supporters need galvanising as well, and hopefully this appointment will do that. The staff certainly as well. Working with the staff over a number of years as well. Myself and now building that relationship. And with the players, they're down, they need lifting, and one of the reasons I'll come back, I'm excited about what can be achieved, and looking forward to it.
Just last one from you, Chris. You talk about galvanising the team. So short term, how do you do that? But then also long term, this season, is promotion still the target?
Well, I just think, when you look at maybe the modern game as well, there's a lot talked about, from the tactical point of view and the style and things like that. And we've all got that. We've all, I still think that, sometimes I think it's a little bit disrespectful that people think that you're not up to scratch in terms from a tactical approach. 3 or 4 years ago, we were producing some stuff that everybody was taking notice of. So I think that's quite disrespectful. To get 92 points from what we did last year, we've got to be pretty much on point on a lot of things. Ultimately, as I said at the time, to finish third with 2 teams finishing with 100 points, is okay to decent. I'll let other people talk about that. But, we talk about leadership skills as well, and management of players, the human beings that, they have to be managed daily. They have to be managed through game to game, for the highs of winning, for the lows of winning, for the highs of playing, for the lows of being left out, through injuries, through everything else. This isn't just a game based on a computer. It's a game based on a lot of aspects, and through time you learn to build. I think sometimes people don't realise how difficult it is to build something, and most certainly I don't think people realise how difficult it is to win a game of football, especially at championship level. So small steps. The players have been outstanding over the last couple of days. I don't think that's a manager bounce. I think they genuinely are a talented group that want to do well, that's been assembled. The owners have supported it over the last 2 or 3 weeks in terms of the acquisitions that they've made, and this is a strong group of players that I believe, if led right and given the right processes, getting back to the culture of what has made us a decent side over a number of years. Taking into account that we've had a couple of disappointments in there, but it's been a decent period for the football club, and I'm really looking forward to opening the club. It's not about me. Maybe there's a couple of people, even from a Sheffield United point of view, looking to go a different direction. I don't want that to be the narrative where pro Sheffield United, pro CW supporters and people that really didn't want me back. I think it's time that, especially now, we have to reunite and give the players the best opportunity of producing the best performance on Saturday, and hopefully we can do that, make that shirt as light as possible. I'm incredibly excited and looking forward to walking out at Bramall Lane and hopefully helping the players to get a positive result. We need a result, and I'm sure that if we get that result against a side that's has had a decent season last year, coming out in a Wembley appearance and a promotion. If we get a result, then we can get our season up and running, and we work from there.
Thank you, Chris.
Cheers, Dan.
You go. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks, Rob.
What did the owners say to you when they ultimately offered you the chance to come back, and what was your reaction?
I don't think you'd be surprised about my reaction. As I said, I come back to help the football club. I'm in a unique situation. quite easily I could have not taken up the opportunity. It's amazing maybe how your stock goes up when you're not even in work and you're not even on the side of a pitch. But there it is, to help the football club, to restore a little bit of pride, restore some belief into the players, and get us out of the position that we're in. It's certainly a position that the owners weren't expecting the club to be in, but they are for a reason. And as I said, the players have to accept some responsibility for that, Rob. Bottom of the league in duels, bottom 3 or 4 in terms of running stats. The game doesn't change. The fight in the players has to be shown, and that shows that they're not fighting. And at the moment, they're not running around. People can talk about the reasons why they're not doing that, but first and foremost, I don't compromise on those aspects of the game, and the top guys don't compromise. So if people think in the Premier League people don't run around and don't tackle and don't compete, then they're completely off what football is all about. And football's about winning games of football, and I've always said, you look at the Championship and there's maybe sort of 10 to 15 games where you play well. There's a group in the middle there, maybe 10 to 15 games, and there's a group of games where you don't play well, and it's how you approach every game and how you get results. We'd all love to play champagne football and do maybe what Leeds United did last season and play this free-flowing game with the players that they had, but that wasn't the situation that we were put in at the start of the season, and you have to grind out results, and by hook or by crook gain those results through different qualities. We have the players to do everything here, to fight and to grind one out, and to play decent football. We were in the middle of it, of course, and as I said, I understand and respect the decision made, but picking up from where we sort of left off in terms of our build and development, I'm really looking forward to.
If it was any other football club, would you have said, "You've made your bed, sleep in it"?
Possibly, yeah. Possibly, yeah. This is a special club for me, so, and as you know, a unique club for me, so yeah, I possibly would say yeah to that.
What have the last few weeks shown about what you achieved last season and what it takes to be successful in the Championship?
Yeah, I let people talk about sort of last season. It is really important that we look forward to what this group can achieve, how tough the Championship is. Other people can talk where that was at, and they'll have their different opinions, and some might be negative on it, and some might be positive, and some might be in between. But generally, when you come out of the Premier League, you're beaten and broke, and as seen when you were following it, in terms of where the football club was at. So to get into the pre-season and then add the players in the manner that we did, and whatever, building a lot of things that you need and a lot of requirements. I'm delighted, as I said, to be given the opportunity. I think we're in the early steps. It has to be small steps. Can we win games of football? Yes, with this group. Can we win a bunch of games? I believe we did, and I'm excited about that. And that's one of the big things that attracted me back into it, and the attitude of the owners and Stephen as well. Hugely impressed. And as I said, quite easily they could have gone down another direction, another path, and they didn't. So huge respect to them on that, and enjoyed sort of my conversations with the owners when potentially there was an opportunity, a possibility of coming back and moving and collaborating with them as well. I know there's a lot of talk about AI and whatever. I always think it's a collaboration of everything. I think they've made some smart signings as well. The back end of the window, in terms of the likes of Chong and Tanganga and Danny Ings and Ben Mee and Obone, to give that the group that experience, with third youngest group in the division last season as well. So to bring it all together and build on that, yeah, it feels as if we've got another points deduction, but we'll work off to the back of that. But small steps, and starting on Saturday, we need a big week. I told the players we need a big week this week, which so far we have. And tomorrow needs to be a big week, a big day, even though it's their day off, to prepare like winners, to prepare like they need to give us the best opportunity of going into Thursday and into Friday and hitting the ground. The atmosphere on Saturday will be absolutely electric, in my opinion, and I think everybody who supports us and realises that the support that I've had personally is humbling as well. Not maybe it's not universal, I get, but the people that have sort of talked to me and talked about over these past disappointing weeks about an opportunity of returning and giving that opportunity, amount of message that I've had. I really thank them for the support, but the biggest thing is that we support that team on Saturday afternoon because they need that. They need the lift. They need the lift of the energy of the supporters. They need the belief of the supporters, which I believe that they have got. They certainly have got my backing and my belief because, first and foremost, I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe we could achieve anything.
The owners are relatively new to English football still. In your conversations with them over the last few days, have they conceded that maybe some ideas were not right? Have they even maybe apologised to you?
No, I'm not. I wasn't looking for an apology, or I'm not looking to come in and I'm not smug about the situation. It's my football club. We're bottom of the division, played 6, lost 6. That ain't a good place. We're not looked at. In the football world as a good place at the moment. There's obviously a lack of respect to the football club, which has to be owned at the moment, and we have, and I have to help the players, and we have the opportunity and the ability to change that around. So I'm not smug about the situation. I'm not sat back and thinking, "Oh, that's great, they lost." I think some managers might be, but I'm not. It's my life, it's my pal's life, it's my family's life, as we all know, and we want the club to succeed. Of course, so and I'm not banging about that, and you get some, go in there and you tell them, and you need to tell them what to do, and you need to tell them. No, I love working with people. Like I said, the attitude of the owners has been great for them to initially approach me. The attitude of Steve to make that call and us to have that chat, sort of gives a good feel and a good vibe about the place. And these are humble guys as well, the owners, and they don't do well in their own particular businesses and careers without making now and again decisions that maybe they look back on and go, maybe I shouldn't have made that decision. Me too. There's always that reflection on everything you do. Whether it's training, whether it's picking the right team, whether it's changing the team, whether it's formation, whether it's tactics. There's always that reflection. And maybe I should have done this, or maybe I should have done that. But you live in the moment. You make the decision that you feel is right for you at that particular time, or right for the football club. So they've been really positive, forward-thinking, forward-looking discussions with the ownership groups, and I've spoke to the majority of them as well. It's not just like the previous regime where it was just one guy and some advisors wrapped around Prince Abdullah. There's a number of people there, and I've had messages off every one of them wishing me all the best. So that fills me with great sense of enthusiasm, pride, and support that they want us to change. And obviously, you've seen the statement that they made in terms of my return to the club.
There's a few players who were excellent for you last season have not quite reached that level of performance so far this year. How do you get them back to the level from last year, do you think?
Well, there's all different ways to motivate people. Some need maybe a bit of a bark at, and some need maybe a little bit of a shoulder on. And I think that's what we were talking about. It isn't just done on a tactics board. There's a lot goes into it in terms of getting the best out of a group, and we've managed to do that for a lot of my period of my time here from 2016. Getting a pint out of an half-pint pot is key, but we've got some talented players here that are underperforming without a shadow of a doubt. I think we all know that. Putting them in the right positions, in my opinion, will be key. Making sure they win the battles, win the headies, win the races, and play. There's a thing that's still up there in the auditorium: outrun, outfight, outplay, and the two have to come from them, and then we'll give them a process and the belief and the encouragement to go and get back to the standards that they've shown, whether it's Gus, Championship Player of the Year, whether it's Harrison or whoever it is. They're all underperforming at the moment. I possibly can take maybe a couple of the newer signings that have just making their mark at Sheffield United. But they've come to be successful. and the other players, join the club to win games of football. They have won games of football in the past, and as I said before, Rob, this team can win and should be winning, and that's what has to be our short-term goal.
One of the big talking points from the last game was Gus Hamer on the bench against Ipswich. Is it safe to say that he'll be playing for you this weekend?
Yeah, he's got a good chance of. So he's a player that I love, and we have a few little bits and pieces as well, but we need him at the top of the pitch. That's where we needed him. We don't need him in a different position than what he has been occupying or as seen by me watching the games. Really, we need him at the top of the pitch. We need him whatever he plays as a 10 or off a side. Combinations, slide balls, crosses, assists, goals, big moments. He's arguably the best player in the division at the moment. He isn't the best player in the division, and we're not the best team, but he has that ability to raise his game, and super confident that we can get the best out of him.
Alan Nill and Matt Prestridge, will they be joining you?
Both back. Yeah, I mean we're looking to freshen up the backroom staff as well. We lost Jack to Brentford, Jack Lester to Brentford. So the ownership group and Steve are very enthusiastic about what we can do as well. So there'll be a couple of different faces coming into the coaching group as well, which we're really looking forward to. I think that freshens it up for me. I think it freshens it up for the players and Alan as well. Mickey Collins, who I've got enormous amount of respect for, will be promoted back into the first team group and will take a more prominent part than he has done recently, and to what he did last season. Very good young up and coming coach, and there is as well is a pathway for the coaches in the academy to go into the senior management group, and Mickey will be back with us, and in time we'll announce hopefully the additions to help us and help the players.
Could you get back into the promotion mix?
Well, one game at a time, but it's not impossible. Statistically, it's been shown that a team in our position, can win games of football and go on a run. But as I said, we're not in a great position at the moment, so small steps. But first and foremost, making sure we get every day right, and that includes yesterday and today, which, to be fair, they've been outstanding. And going forward into Thursday, into Friday, and into the first game, let's get that first win on the board, and let's try and build a little bit of momentum, a bit of belief, repair the boys, put them back in their natural positions, put a bit of belief into them, put a bit of organisation, and as well, a bit more of a culture reset. Sheffield United is not a team that is bottom of the division on duels or running distances. There might be some other clubs that, and I'm not going to particularly, name those teams that think about that side of the game more than the other side. I always think the most successful teams are good at both. We've got the ability to be good at both. I think we all understand and want to see and know what a good Sheffield United team looks like. The supporters do, and getting back to the basic principles of winning a game of football. That ain't old school. That's right school.
You've mentioned a couple of times sort of bringing everybody together, and you made reference you don't want it to be CW in and those who are against. I think the people who maybe have been negative are in the minority. But what is your message to those people who are out there if they have those opinions? Well,
listen, everybody's got the opinions on everything, so whether it's selection or signing of players collectively as well, and whatever happens at a football club, there's a lot of things go off internally that people don't get to know about, and rightly so. But they're here to support the team, and put aside at 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon and give those players the best opportunity of winning games of football. We all want to see our team win. I even think I saw a couple of things sort of the back end of the season, and not going to Wembley and not wanting to see it and not wanting to win and stuff like that and staying in division. How can you ever not want your team to win a game of football? It's absolutely ridiculous. How can you never want your team not to win a game or your players not to play well? It's absolutely outrageous. We all want the players to play well. We want them to give everything for the badge, leave everything out there and win a game of football. So if it's a minority, I get it. Don't agree with it, but I don't think there's very few managers that have 100% universal support from everybody. Even saw bits and pieces sort of last season regarding Pep and what he's achieved. So you have to deal with it. It's part and parcel. Majority of it's on social media where the loudest get heard. But everybody I've bumped into wants the team to do well. And mad Sheffield United supporters and want us to win and want us to start climbing the table.
Quick final question. You've had so much success, great relationship with this club over the years. What do you want this latest chapter to look like? What's the ideal for you?
Win games of football, short term to win games of football, medium term to win enough games of football to put us in and around it at Christmas time. Reflect and analyse through these next, to 2023, what we play 18 games. Reflect and analyse over these next 18 games. Have a look, see what we need to do. I'm not so sure we need to do a lot. If I get a tune out of this group, which I'm sure we can do, and they play to their potential and their ability, what they've done previously at clubs, what they've done here, bringing it together. There's certainly not a broken changing room in terms of team spirit. They just look a little bit broken in terms of the sort of identity at the football club of the football team at the moment. I'm sure that there'll be discussions about what we can do to improve, and maybe players might. I look at the group now, and I think there's 29 pros in there, which is far too many. So there'll be some players, moving on and going out the building to trim that down a little bit, and hopefully we're in a position in and around December where we can have a positive January transfer window. As I said, I don't think there's a big amount of business to be done, really, and we can have an exciting second part of the season, and who knows where it can take us. First and foremost, we got to get this week right, and got to get Saturday right, and hopefully, the feeling walking out that ground at 5 o'clock will be a different one to what everybody's had to deal with recently.
All the best, Chris.
Cheers, Rob. Thank you.
Cheers, Rob. Hi, Chris.
Hi,
Welcome
Dan.
back. You touched on it with Dan there about being energised by the break that you've had. Just give us a little insight into what that's been like for you on a personal level. Is there anything that you can perhaps take into this spell that you've learnt in that time?
No. It feels as if it's been a little bit of a me and Francesca have had a little bit of a European and world tour. Like, we've had the ability to get away, but you take up that opportunity when it comes to you, because I want to work, and delighted to be working back at our football club. So no, not really. You reflect as well, of course, and you move forward. But I always thought that was confident that we'd be back working again. I always think that you look at it and you go, not everybody can win. So and the Championship is such of a league that everybody wants success in it, and everybody can't have success in it. Some teams have started well, some teams have started okay, and some teams have started poorly. And I think everybody knows the name of the game, that if you don't get out the traps and you don't win games of football, especially as a big club that was sort of had sights set on returning to the Premier League, then there's going to be changes made, whether there were changes made here or in the next 4 or 5 games at other clubs. So, yeah, I'm not done yet. I want to work. I want to succeed. My hunger and desire personally is as big as it's ever been. And getting back to work, being not back for pre-season, being not on the side of a pitch watching games, which I've watched a few games as well, been to a few games as well, doesn't fit well with me. It's not natural for me. Yeah. And it's a place where I've been for for close to, if not over 1,000 games, and it's something that I love doing, and it's my passion.
Is Fran glad to get you out of the hair then?
100%. I think that's the reason that I took it, because I was getting booted out the door. So she's absolutely delighted.
When something like this happens, all the cliches about being, point to prove and being refreshed and, as determined as ever will be sort of put out there. Do you feel that? Do you feel like you have something to, not something to prove in a negative way?
I don't think I'm on my CV and proud of the journey, but that's gone. All that stuff has gone, and you look for the next challenge, and you look for the next success. It's something that you crave. You'll never be tired of that winning feeling, never be tired of that Saturday afternoon feeling at 5 o'clock when the final whistle goes and you won a game of football. Yeah. The buzz and the adrenaline and the energy that it gives you before and after. And coming back into work, it's been fabulous working with players, interacting with players, trying to help them. It's a big thing, and ultimately trying to help them, but most importantly trying to help our football club.
As I say, you've always been someone who plans short, medium, long term. We've talked about medium and long term. In the short term, how much is it for you about restoring that identity of this football club? Because that feels like it's been lost in this early part of the season.
There's just two statistics. When everybody talks about statistics, for me, there's two statistics that I've talked about. There's no way that the club, if you said to Liverpool, you'd be bottom of the league on duels. The likes of Jurgen Klopp will be absolutely doing his nutting. The top, I think sometimes people don't realise, outside the football, sort of a culture and and non-negotiables, and not compromising on the likes of these principles of playing a competitive game. That I've had the ability and opportunity to stand next to the best operators in the world. Pep and Jurgen Klopp, and the likes. It's the big hitters of the game, and don't be surprised that they want to win, and they want tackles to be made, and they want races to be run, and they want their team to run around. Because if you don't, you're not going to get control of the ball. You're not going to. It's all different. I keep going on tactical. I'm not going to go on about. It's all different ways of winning. I'm not tied down. I'll deviate from one to the other to win. I think that's always in us. And I think especially I was listening to Southampton. I did when I worked for Sky in the first game of the season, and watched the Southampton game. I was listening before, and the manager was talking about these supporters have been beaten up and broken. Pretty much like we were the previous year, and they just want their team to win. Yeah. They didn't care how it was happening. We all want it to be beautiful champagne. Fortunately, that isn't the case, and I think I know enough about the footballing championship. Unless you're blowing everybody away financially, then it's going to be a scrap at times. And at times you all want it to go well, and you want it to be like we did against Bristol City, 3-0 up, 3-0 up away from home and 3-0 up at home, and it's all lovely and great and calm and super. But it isn't like that. So that's what we're looking to do, and get back the culture of the football club that's made this club win games of football over a number of years. And give us that culture that we're known and how it represents us. Yeah,
there's obviously a lot of players. You touched on this that you remember from or you worked with last time. There's a few new ones as well. Some have gone, some have come in. As we sit here now, do you have a clear picture on how to get the best out of this squad, or is it something that might take a bit of time to
no, 100%, 100% know what we're doing. Yeah, I'll try and make that work. We'll try and make that work. Yeah. There's buy-in from the players, 100%. I'm looking at the body language over the last 2 days, and I'm looking into their eyes. They want to do well. Players that have come here want to do well. Players that played last season want to get back to that feeling of a togetherness of a group that's successful, winning and fighting for each other and playing decent stuff. And winning games of football. So they want to get back. I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it. If it was, I'm coming into a team where I think, doubt. This is an oil tanker. It's not an oil tanker. Hopefully we can turn it around pretty quickly. I feel we can. We have that ability in the coaching setup and from my point of view to get a tune out of these players. Along the way, we might have some dips in the road. What happens at every club? What's the reaction like to that? Got to say, it's not been super, has it? The reaction to defeat. You don't like losing one. You certainly don't like losing two. So we have to get that sort of mentality back into us and the belief and what we're really about and what we want it to look like.
Obviously, this time round, the deficit is perhaps a little bit bigger than it was last season. Yeah. But is that experience of last season, -2 starting behind the 8 ball, something that you can perhaps lead on this time around?
Well, certainly take 92 points from this position. Yeah. I'm not sure that'll be attainable, but we'll go game by game and small steps. Starting Saturday, as I said to Rob, really looking forward to it, and I get a vibe living in the city that it's going to be a special atmosphere at Bramall Lane to make it as hostile and uncomfortable for the opposition as possible, and give those players, as I said, regardless of my situation or whatever, players need a lift.
Yeah.
And they may not have earned that right at the moment, but let's put all that to one side and let's get rocking and rolling and get back to where we know we can get back to.
Yeah. Last one from me. We talked about Gus with Rob, but is he going to keep the armband? Are you going to?
Yeah, no, it's a discussion to have, and we've got to pick the right one for that. So whether it's Gus or whether I take that off him and just get him to concentrate on his own game and being that player, that championship player of the season, where we all saw, his contribution to the team was absolutely outstanding. Got the X factor. Goals he scored, the assists he created, his work ethic. He has the ability to be one of, if not the best player in the championship. And I know Gus wants. I've already had a chat with him. I know he wants to get back to that. Yeah. He knows that maybe his standards have slipped as well. So he has to, as they all do, understand and take responsibility for that and ownership of it. But in there is a good lad. He's a good kid, and he's an exceptional football player. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Bob.
Hey,
hi, Chris. Good to see you again.
And you.
Given the way things ended in June, there's been speculation about directors of football or go-betweens between yourself and the board. Will anything change sort of structurally to ease that, make that process easier?
No, there has been talk. Anything to improve the running of the football club. I'm not something that I think there's the narrative is that I want to do everything. That is completely against. I've got an idea, and I like to use my experience to help and collaborate. So I go back to signings 4 or 5 years ago. Of course, the players that we all decide and work on and source to make us better. Ultimately, it's my name that goes on it, but there's a lot of other people in decision making. Everything has to go through board approval. So there's a lot of discussions. And as I said, Stu, I'm here to help the football club. I'm not really. I don't feel as if I'm the age that I'm in. Still, the enthusiasm is as strong as it's been when I first got the job at Alfred a few years ago, which takes me back when the excitement that I had then as a player manager. I'm not sure I can do that role at the moment, but I work with people. I want to work with good people, and we're on the same page to help the football club. So if that's the case, and the club goes down that road, and we all collaborate together, there'll be times where we'll not always everything meets eye to eye, but I'll give my opinion on it and hopefully help the club through the experience I've gained. And I think what I'm trying to say is that when you're a young manager, you're looking for your next You know, if I do well here, then maybe I'll pop myself there, and it's a little bit like snakes and ladders. Sometimes you climb and then you have a little fall, and then you get back up, and this, that, and the other, and you're making your way in the game, and you want to work at the top, and you want to be as ambitious as you possibly can be, which is no different to what I want these players to be. It's a bit of a more different feeling to me now, really. You know, I just want to help the football club and you know, turn this around. And if I'm part of something going forward that succeeds, then brilliant, and it'll fill me with an enormous amount of pride. We're still hurting a little bit personally as well about what happened sort of at Wembley, where the game sort of got away from us as well. Reflecting on what we could have done a little bit better, but I think we all know the rules. You know, when you don't go up automatically, you have to go through the process, and you know you can lose a game of football. So that stings a bit. So motivation on that, maybe a touch, but really just a win, and have that feeling inside me personally, and hopefully give that feeling to everybody connected to the football club, the players and the supporters, that they're part of a team that's back on track and winning games.
So in terms of those sort of structural discussions, structural ideas, do they just have to be parked at the moment? Because obviously you've got a game.
I think they're ongoing, but you know they'll be ongoing at senior management level, and when the time's right, and I'm involved in those discussions. You know, then I'm sure out of respect that the ownership will consult me and ask for my opinion on it. But you know, moving forward, it's nothing that I'm scared of, and afraid to collaborate with good people to make us better. That's pretty much as simplistic as I can put it, Stu.
Do you think then, in terms of managing upwards, maybe not so much downwards, I don't know, that you've talked about how you've changed it, you've maybe mellowed a little from the first time you were here, perhaps, in terms of your attitude to all this things?
Yeah, well, I'm still spiky. I still have that reputation, I think. You know, I think maybe a third of people maybe quite like my approach. A third maybe dislike my approach, and maybe there's a third in the middle there that are really undecided. But I'm not here to win a popularity contest. I'm here to win games of football for the football club. As long as the people that I represent respect the job I do, you know, generally, and I have their support, which I believe I have, then that's good enough for me. You know, I'm a Sheffield United fan, and I don't have to pander or appease the football world. I like to think that I've got a lot of respect in the game for what we've achieved. I believe the club has a lot of respect in the game for how we run our business, and it's an historic club that it's a proud old club that is in a bit of pain at the moment. So yeah, I think you do, Stu. Managing up is, you know, you always have to manage up, manage sideways, manage below, or whatever it is. There's a load of things that are connected to being a leader and being a manager. But you know, sometimes, you know, people fall out and have difference of opinions, and I think, like I talk to the players about, and always say, you'll get an honesty about me. I think if you ask any player that has played for me, they'll recognise that and realise that. You know, Dean Henderson, absolutely love him to bits. One of my favourite all-time players that I've ever managed, from a character point of view and ability point of view, and just a general great human being and a fabulous footballer. I had a pop at him when he let one through his legs against Liverpool and got absolutely caned by everybody. So, you know, that's just my honest approach to it. There's times where you have to tweak it a little bit and maybe not say as much as you wanted to say, but for the majority of times, I think people respect honesty. Players, I respected the honesty of a manager, and I think people want to know where they are and what the core values and principles of you are as a human being, and that's how it is. And I think it's maybe a little bit of a mellowing out there, Stu, but still, you want right things to be done at the club and go in the right direction.
And when you reeled off the names of the new signings to Dan, a lot of them, they felt like they were the sort of profile of player that that you sign anyway, sort of thing. Is that your feeling, that when you talk about it being a good window, that these are the kind of characters and profiles of players that you would have wanted to bring in? Maybe not the individuals, but the style of player that you'd have brought in if you'd have been in charge.
I think I've gone on record. I think the club have gone on record in terms of the decision to part was not a misunderstanding or a falling out on terms of the way the club were going. I knew that was to collaborate with that. So this wasn't going to be an ultimate, we're going to sign these sort of 21, 22, 19, 21, 22 players, because the owners know that that you can't survive in the division. We were the third youngest team in the division last season. There wasn't any young players that were playing for Burnley or Middlesbrough or Coventry really, or Leeds United. We were putting young players in left, right, and centre. Restoring values to the players that we already had in terms of Hamer and Nell and Vinny and the likes of that. Signing good young players, Cooper and Burrows, good free transfers in terms of Callum O'Hare, and putting value onto our young players. So to restore value is a big thing. So there was never any falling out. It was a decision that the club made that they wanted to go in a different direction. But there had always been, in my opinion, the necessity of signing some of the players that the club have signed. And I've got to say, I think the club have been incredibly ambitious and put their hand in the pocket in terms of what they've done. Would I have signed Tanganga 100%? If Robbo would have gone, would I have signed Ben Mee 100%? I knew the club tried to sign Cheo from before he went to Luton. He was living in Kelham Island. The club tried to do it, but they missed out on it. I see his career and his profile, and he's a good Sheffield United player. Like Chong, we all know about, and other players, Mark McGuinness, we all know about. He's played well. He played over the road and obviously did very, very well for the team down the road. So he's a good player. He's an experienced championship player. So he's putting them all together. So yeah, 100%. I would have, and I would have. Niels. I would have signed Niels. The boy from Sweden. He was in the system. They're good signings. They're young signings that we can develop, but developing with our academy players, developing from players that we've signed, developing like young Alex Matos, obviously great CV from Chelsea. He'd have been on the radar as well. So, the group that's been put together is a talented group. Now the key is for them to show it, and me to try and bring that out of them. And 100%, I believe we can do.
And I guess one thing that has changed is, well, obviously the whole centre-back department has changed. I guess the balance of the squad is probably slightly different. Does that come into your thinking in terms of formations or that sort of thing, or do you see them all fitting?
No, not really. No, not really. What have you got? You've got four centre halves. You've got the two left footers in there. You've got competition at fullback, Ben Godfrey and Femi. Competition at left back. You've got midfield players. We need Tom Davies back. We've got young midfield players there, and then obviously Blaster coming back into it. So I think I'm seeing what I would say 95% of Sheffield United fans are seeing. You look at the midfield and maybe go, some young talent in there, but maybe it's a time for them young talent to flourish like they did last season, where I stuck pegged together with our Blaster in the Championship in the position that we were in at the top of the division. Yeah, because I believe in both of them. But Matterson, Samarian, we need Tom Davies back. He's pivotal. He does give us that little bit of experience as well. We've got Cheo off the right. We've got Brooksy off the right. We've got Chongi who can play there. Chongi who can play at 10. Danny Ings, who we've not even mentioned. He's a smart signing. We've got Tom and Ty as two stretch nines. We've got Louis Barry and Gus off the left. So I'm possibly telling Nathan what formation I've already played if he's watching this, but I don't think it's going to be a massive surprise to him of the formation that we played. But I think what we've done as well, we can go. I'm not set in stone in terms of formations. I keep saying it. We've coached 4-3-3, coached 4-2-3-1, played three centre halves at times. You have to be fluid and flexible in my opinion. Some aren't. I think some modern day coaches aren't. I'm not sure that's the right way to go about it, but I think you've got to be got to be flexible. Read an article from Carlo Ancelotti, and he's talking about, well, I can't unless I know what players I've got and what my opposition is, and is half my team out through injury, and then I have to be flexible in terms of the approach. I think you've always got to have something that is your starting sort of formation, but at times it changes, and you get on a roll and get a bit of momentum, and that works for you. So, flexibility and being flexible with our ideas is key to that.
And just finally from me, I mean, you were unfortunate last season in that there were two exceptional championship teams. This season, the three that have come down for quite obvious reasons have not found it easy going yet. Do you think it'll be a more open championship?
Yeah, I do.
Season?
Yeah, I don't think two teams get 100 points. I'd be very surprised. I think that you're looking at it and you go, there's some real talented teams in the division. Ipswich and Southampton are right up there. There's some formidable championship sides that are knocking on the door in terms of Middlesbrough and Coventry and West Brom and Norwich. You've got a lot of, how difficult the division is. There are teams that might come through the pack and surprise people. Stoke have had an outstanding start under Mark Robbins, and Paul Eckenbottom's had a good start at Preston. Alex at Millwall. Leicester, obviously. Anybody heard about the points deduction there? I don't know what's happening there, but an incredibly talented group. So, yeah, and we're amongst it. And that's got to be our aim, to get amongst those sort of top sides and see where it goes. But I don't think there'll be three teams that pull away like the three teams did. I certainly don't think that two teams will get 100 points. I might be wrong, and let's wait and see. But first and foremost, let's concentrate on us, being the best version of us on Saturday and getting our first 3 points of the season. Cheers, Stu. Thank you, mate.
Welcome back, Chris.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
Cheers.
On Friday, I was at Portman Road actually watching it. What did you make of first of all, the game as it was unfolding? And obviously, we talked about Gus being Championship Player of the Season, him being dropped from the team.
Listen, they're not my decisions. I don't think it's right for me to comment on sort of the way the team went about it or whatever. I think. As a manager, as a fan, I'll obviously be disappointed in terms of getting beat 5-0 away from home. But Gus and Ty, for me, are top players. So as I said, they need to take that responsibility. I've spoke to both of them, as I said to the guys previously, getting back to where they were. Ty came in and had a fabulous season last season. We worked hard to get his signature. We worked hard to get the minutes under his belt, and he flourished top scorer on a free transfer, and we restored value in Gus to where he should be in terms of his price and most importantly the performances that he made. So listen, I wasn't the manager. I didn't pick the team, didn't pick the formation, didn't pick the processes or whatever. So it's nothing to do with me. So now we talked about it, we have to park that bit and move forward. But certainly, for us to be successful, we need Tyrese Campbell performing at the top of his ability, and Gus, getting back to the form that, as we keep saying, Championship Player of the Season.
I understand you got the call on Friday, was it? You got a phone call on Friday asking if you would kind of come back, and I was just wondering, what was your reaction, and what did the owner say to you? Yeah,
sort of discussions with all the owners. Most importantly, as I said, thank the part that Steve Betty's played in that, in terms, it's not always the easiest thing to put together when people are all over the world, at different time zones as well. So yeah. Steve sort of collaborated all that, and delighted to get the call off Steve, the two co-owners in Steve Rosen and Helmy, and calls and messages off the back of that by the other co-owners, and as I said, I don't, for me, I don't think there should be any criticism in their approach and attitude. I think it's quite refreshing. I think the easy option would be to go and open it up or what they ever wanted to do, but they thought it was the right thing to do, and I appreciate their decision. Prince Abdullah thought it was the right thing to do to bring me back to the football club, and I like to think that we sort of turned it round from a losing team to a team that won, equal most games in the division and finished with the points that we did, and restored the value into the players. So I want to repay them as well for the belief and given the opportunity to come back.
Now, you mentioned earlier there's a real vibe around the city at the moment, and there's going to be a great atmosphere on Saturday. Have you been actually stopped by a lot of fans in the streets? Have you had lots of conversations with?
I get stopped every 10 minutes wherever I go. So and usually, and it says it's quite humbling in terms of, will they ask you back? I've said, well, listen, I'm open. Of course, I'm open. I've never turn this down. But there has to be that process first and foremost. So we're not in a great position, and the supporters have not enjoyed the start of the season. But hopefully we can change that. We can change that starting Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you've obviously been in the game a long time. You know how it works. So I'm assuming you have a lot of sympathy for Ruben.
Well, it's the game. So we've all been in that situation. I think what happened maybe in the summer there was a certain level of that towards me, but you have to take it. You understand the rules, you understand the nature of the game, and everybody does. I think the manager said that in terms of a couple of his sort of late interviews, sort of the back end of his time here. We all know how the game is and the risks if you don't win games of football. So. You get out of that by winning games of football, and that's what we're going to try and do.
I just want to ask you finally about the AI. A lot of people talking about this. How does it actually work? Can you sort of articulate it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a collaboration between an AI company with one of the investors on the board, and let's be right about it. There's not a lot of AI needed when Danny Ings is signing and Ben Mee, but this is it's not really universal. It's not 100% in terms of signing footballers. We want to check the numbers. Physically we want to check the numbers. No good signing Danny Ings or Ben Mee if they're shot and they can't move, and we're giving them 2 or 3 year deals that they're not going to play and not be. Available for selection. So there's that part of it on that. Smart signings like we've done in the past, and signings for the future that the club are making. So I mean, it's a culmination of a lot of things pulling together and a collaboration of a lot of people's thoughts, including the system and the detail that goes into identifying those players. Cheers.
Chris Davis-Smith from Hits Radio in South Yorkshire. Welcome back, first of all. Where were you when you first got the call then from Stephen Bettis, and were you surprised to get it?
I don't know exactly where I was. Was I surprised to get it? Listen, I was delighted to get it. I think that's the biggest thing. You never know. There's a lot of talk in the town about would they, is it maybe the right thing to do, or would that open up an opportunity? But delighted to get it first and foremost, and start that conversation with the owners.
With regards to the terms of your contract, we know it's until the summer of 2027. Are the terms similar to your old contract, or have they adjusted at all?
Well, I think that's confidential. I'm not going to tell you what's happening from a financial point of view, but certainly from my point of view, the easiest option would be not to come back and just to crack on. Left on good terms. Disappointing, obviously, incredibly disappointing for all Sheffield United fans in terms of what happened in late May. But that's part of it. So I backed myself. I was on a 1 year deal last season up till Christmas. So contracts are contracts. When people talk about contracts and they go, he signed a 5 year or a 10 year deal, it doesn't mean that they get 10 times 1 year annual salary for 10 years, if that makes sense. There's always a compromise in there. There's always a termination agreement. So that it's from a financial point of view, it's nothing really to do with it. It was that opportunity. I'll back myself, and if I like to think, if the work gets recognised, then we'll see where it is and what happens going forward. But there's always, as Dan said, there's always a short, medium, and long term view on it, and short and medium term is to get to Christmas with belief renewed, optimism renewed, and we've picked some points up that we can kick on in the second part of the season.
How does it feel for you watching Sheffield United from afar?
Well, yeah, of course, it's painful that I've not been involved. Of course, it stings, which I've talked about, and it hurts a little bit more when they're not getting the results that we all know that they can get. Because first and foremost, that's us and what we've been brought up on, and we want our team to be successful.
Were you close at all at any point during the summer to potentially joining any other club?
Yeah, I had a couple of conversations with a couple of clubs and got pretty close to a couple. Because I want to work. I don't think I know I'm not done yet. There's a huge amount of determination and enthusiasm and desire to go again and work in an industry that I've worked in since I was 16. So I love the industry. I love the buzz about it. I love the buzz of the competition, of the preparation, of working daily with players, trying to improve them, representing a club that I love. I want to work, and I give everything for every club that I've worked for. Obviously, this is a little bit special to me with the unique background I've got. But always, given, to get this job, I've had to do some things right at my previous clubs, and I had to do some things right for the owners now to give me that opportunity to come back.
And considering what happened in the summer, did anybody close to you ever advise you when this opportunity came back up, potentially not to take it, or was everybody unanimous in saying go for it again? No,
everybody's got their opinion, and there'd be certain people that would have said that. But I'm a big boy. I chat closely with my wife, and we're tight, and we make family decisions as well. So, but she knows the love I have for this football club and how much it means to me. So I don't think there was ever going to be, I'm a big boy and I'll make that decision. But yeah, of course you seek advice from people in the game, people that you really respect, people close to you, family and friends. And for me, where it's at now, the amount of calls I've taken, I've not really taken one that says what you're doing and what you're putting at stake. I think there's always a risk in everything. If you don't risk in life, then I think you can just float along and be safe for the rest of your life. But to risk is a big thing, and I think that's what I do, and it's held me in good. In a good place for the majority of the career. I've taken jobs that other people have said, what you're doing, don't take that. I took the Watford job for 10 games, and I still get I still get criticism. I took it for 10 games, and I wanted to work, and I felt I could get a tune out of a group of players. I possibly should have asked Roy Hodgson and Slaven Bilic and Rob Edwards and some of the managers that have managed before me recently for their advice. But you always think that you can make a difference. But I took that risk, and I could have easily sat off of it and not taken it, and maybe not received the negative criticism that I got about my time there. But the other part of it is that we could have won 2 or 3 more games, got in the playoff and finished at Wembley and ended up in the Premier League. That's a risk that I took, and I took it, and I've got no regrets, and I've certainly got no regrets about coming back and helping and working for the football club.
And just lastly, Chris, from me, what would be your message to any Sheffield United fan planning to step foot into Bramall Lane?
No, listen, I think there'll be an incredible atmosphere there on Saturday. Hopefully the appointment has lifted the spirits of the majority of people, recognise that what the team might look like on Saturday. Look forward to enjoying and watching the team perform in the way that they should do. And like I said to you, not about me, it's about, you know, us lifting those players, because they're a good group individually. They're good characters. You know, there's no players in. I'm not looking in. You know, sometimes you go into a football club and you go, dear me, when you walk through the door, and you go, I've got my work cut out, because he wants to do this, he wants to do that. He don't really want to be here. He wants to be. He's a young kid. He's an old lad. They've all got their issues, and sometimes you have to deal with that, and that takes time to sort that out. Here, everybody's on the same page from the get-go, 100%. The players that were here last year, of course, know what they're coming into in terms of what to expect from myself and the coaching staff. And I think the older ones know through word of mouth what we're like to work with, and trying to get a tune out of them. And that's the biggest thing. The good boys. I think sometimes, you know, when you see supporters clap players as well, I think they realise, you know, it's a decent group of players, and they just need help and support, and they'll definitely get that off me. And I'm absolutely certain that when they walk out of the tunnel at Bramall Lane at 8 minutes to 3 on Saturday afternoon, that'll be an incredibly positive environment to play football. Let's take the pressure off of them. Let's make the shirt light, and let's all reconnect and go again and try and win a game of football.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thanks all.
Cheers, guys. All the best. See you guys.